Do you know anybody who doesn't like baby animals? I sure don't. And one of the most exciting places to see them is at the nursery of a zoo. Every year, thousands of baby animals are born in zoos around the world. Some are delicate, some are hardy, some are even dangerous. Many of them need and get very special treatment. But from the aardvark to the elephant, to the lemur, to the kangaroo, they have one thing in common. They're absolutely lovable and fascinating. Now we're going to see some very special zoo babies, and later in the show we'll find out how much you remember when we play Animal Quiz. Stay with us now because it's just for fun.
The San Diego Zoo has many claims to fame. It's the world's largest zoo, and by any standards, it's one of the best. Over 3 million visitors come here each year, attracted by that special interest man feels for his fellow creatures, that need for contact with other forms of life. This gazelle is only moments old. Weak, but already eager for life, it struggles to stand. More than 400 babies are born here every year. Each new life is a miracle under any circumstances. But in zoos, new lives represent a victory, for many animals do not reproduce well in captivity. Yet modern zoos realize the necessity of raising their own animals rather than taking them from the wild. They spend countless hours and dollars making conditions right for animals to bear and rear their young. The results? An exotic collection of beautiful babies. While instinct serves most zoo mothers and babies richly, occasionally the parent is unprepared or unable to care for her offspring. In such cases, the baby is turned over to human substitute parents. Joan Embry, a young woman who has helped bring up many zoo babies, explains.
When animals are abandoned, they're brought here to the nursery and hand-raised until they can be introduced to solid foods. Eventually, they learn to be introduced to our paddock area or to another group of animals, so that hopefully when they're old enough, they may be reintroduced out into the main zoo once again. Ellie's doing very well. We found that we have a great deal of success in hand-rearing many of these babies. They're all different, and they vary in their care. Hopefully, Ellie will one day be back with the herd where she was born.
For the public, the nursery is one of the zoo's greatest attractions. This is Minerva, an aardvark. Her mother failed to care for her, so she was moved in here when she was 6 days old.
When they do come in, they're very helpless, and they need someone to kind of give them a chance to live. And there really is a struggle for life when they're that young.
Minerva's development is carefully watched, and this very unusual baby is thriving under round-the-clock care. This ring-tailed lemur, too, is surviving because of hand feeding and constant attention.
It's very difficult for them to learn how to nurse and develop to a mature animal. It's rather rewarding to have a part in the growth of this animal and help it go back to its own kind.
The zoo people realize how precious each little life is and spare no efforts to care for their charges. Because there's more than a job or a principle here. There's love. It's true that everybody loves a baby, but the relationship between zoo babies and their human mother substitutes is very deep and special, for these offspring are completely helpless and dependent. Joanne Thomas has raised a succession of zoo babies over the last 6 years, but she says none have been more beautiful, lovable, playful, or fun to watch than these Siberian tiger cubs. The orphans are not exclusively assigned to one nursery girl, for everyone must be able to handle and care for them. But in addition to being fed and exercised daily, each baby is entitled to some playtime. And the girls admit they do fall in love with certain of the babies. Siberian tigers are an endangered species, so these cubs are doubly precious. The nursery here is equipped with incubators, sterile areas, specialized diets, constant medical attention, and heart. Everything necessary for the survival of the zoo babies. Ask a child what he wants to do on any holiday, and chances are he'll tell you he wants to go to the zoo. The children's zoo is designed especially for little people to get acquainted with the animal world. Usually it includes the offspring of some large wild mammals, some barnyard stock, and assorted gentle, cuddly creatures. The children, full of excitement and anticipation, must wait until the animals have been released before they can enter the petting area. The wait seems like an eternity, but they can watch in the meantime. When the children enter, they're always full of energy and enthusiasm. This is a place created for them, where they're allowed to play and touch the animals to their heart's content. Besides the joy involved, this is an important experience, an introduction into another world where city-bred children can come face to face with animals they might never otherwise see. The Children's Zoo also offers a unique opportunity to observe the care of exotic wild animals and to come closer to them than any other situation would allow. Baby elephants are always an object of wonder. This is Scout, a 400-pound, one-year-old who sometimes doesn't want to bathe any more than children do. Everyone responds to young animals, but children seem to feel their special kinship with them. A visit to the children's zoo is fun and exciting for the average child. But for a blind child, the zoo experience goes far beyond that. Any youngster deprived of sight must rely on the other senses for all contact with and knowledge of the outside world. The sheer joy of petting the animals is reflected in this little sightless girl. The touches, the sounds, the scents these children take home with them will never be forgotten. The animals seem to sense the gentleness and vulnerability of these children and respond with patience and quietness. Such experiences provide a wonderful means by which children can be motivated to learn. The Zoo Project for Handicapped Children encourages the use of the Zoo Babies. It's pretty hard to tell this child what an orangutan is, but if she can stroke its hair, feel its breathing, touch its hand, she knows. So, through their very existence, the Zoo Babies can provide learning and fulfilling experiences for all children. Most parents want to acquaint their children with the wonders of the zoo as early as possible. So a lady with a baby doesn't usually attract much attention here. But occasionally a baby comes through that's so exceptional, everyone has to look. This is Karen, a one-year-old orangutan, and she doesn't understand what's so special about this. Don't all babies get wheeled around in strollers? Karen is used to lots of human interest. Since she was a tiny infant, Karen has been raised by people and had all the attention a human baby would have had, and maybe more. These outings among the visitors to the zoo are one of the treats she's enjoyed from the time she was old enough to sit up. But it's hard to know who enjoys it most. With all the care and affection lavished on the babies in the nursery, a bond of deep affection naturally grows between the youngsters and the girls who raise them. But the day comes when the animals must become accustomed to their own kind. This orang made that transition some time ago. Now it's time for Karen, the baby orangutan, to meet another ape. And this is her very first introduction. The friendly overtures of the other animal are quite misunderstood. Poor Karen. She's like some children on the first day of kindergarten. But like them, she too will eventually begin to feel happy and comfortable with her peers. Experience has proven that just a few minutes exposure to other animals is best at first. So Karen is soon removed to go back to the familiar surroundings of the nursery. In the meantime, it's been something of an ordeal for the older orang, so a reward is definitely in order. Joan Embry says her earliest and fondest memory of animals is the first elephant she saw in a zoo. A childhood dream comes true as she trains this young elephant. The training of zoo elephants begins the day they arrive, for if they did not respond to commands, soon there would be no way to handle such large animals. The elephant is rewarded each time she does the correct movement. Joan uses the traditional hook to guide the animal at first. Eventually, it will respond to vocal commands. Joan says it's amazing how many words the animal can learn to respond to and remember. And if you watch carefully, you'll see how really clever this young elephant is. Within an amazingly short period, our little orangutan has nearly completed the adjustment necessary to leave the nursery permanently and live with others of her own species. Soon she will spend all of her time here, happily playing with the other apes and bringing joy to countless visitors to the San Diego Zoo. In return for the nurturing and care they receive from the zoo and its people, each zoo baby contributes the appealing vitality of its own young life, a priceless gift for all who come to see.
I have to admit that some of my favorite zoo babies are the orangutans. We spent some good hours together, both on and off the screen. You know, once we were filming with a baby orang much like this one. I was holding him in my arms and trying to say my lines. The whole time he was making very rude noises. The crew and I were laughing so hard that I wasn't sure whether we'd finish. You know, in many ways, orangs are just like humans. They'll do anything for a laugh. Did you know that the word orangutan means person of the forest? They live in the tropical rainforests of Indonesia and Malaysia. Orangutans are on the brink of extinction, but fortunately they're now fully protected in their native land. And tremendous work has been done with captive breeding in zoos around the world. Orangutans, along with chimpanzees and gorillas, are man's closest living relatives. And after humans, they're the most intelligent of all land animals. In the wild, a baby orang will stay close to its mother until about the age of 4. In captivity, they're raised very much like a human baby would be. And I don't think they mind it at all. Now, if you're ready, we'll take a look at some of the other zoo babies and play animal quiz. See if you can answer these questions. And remember, have fun with it. Here we go. Millions of people visit zoos every year, and most of them want to see the baby animals. You know, each birth is a cause for celebration. Now, this animal is only hours old. What is it? An eland? Or a gazelle? Or a deer? If you said gazelle, you're right. One of the 400 animals born yearly in the world's largest zoo. That was just your first question, so don't stop yet. Here's another one. Usually, most zoo mothers rely on their natural instincts to raise their babies. But sometimes the parents aren't able to care for their offspring. In such cases, the baby is turned over to human substitute parents. Is this true or false? Well, the answer is true, and that's where the zoo's nursery comes in. The babies are raised there until they're old enough to be reintroduced to their own kind in the main zoo. Well, this little character and I are getting along so well, I'm thinking of adopting him. But first we have to work out the terms. While we're doing that, here's your next animal quiz question. Siberian tiger cubs are especially precious in a zoo nursery. Why? The mothers die at birth? They're very difficult to raise. They are an endangered species. You're absolutely right if you said C. They are an endangered species. And everyone born in captivity means a greater chance of survival for the entire species. Well, our adoption negotiations seem to have broken down. This list of his written demands, I think orangutans might be smarter than anyone ever suspected. He's not even big enough. And already he wants the keys to the car on Saturday. Well, I'll try to renegotiate, and here's your next question. The children's zoo is an exciting place because youngsters are allowed to pet the animals. This takes on even more importance for certain children. Why? They are blind, or they live in the city, or the animals are tame. Well, of course you're right if you said A. These children are blind. They have to rely on their other senses to tell them about the animals. How are you doing on Animal Quiz? Because here is your last question. Baby animals raised in the zoo's nursery are eventually reintroduced into the main zoo. How? They are left in the compound to fend for themselves. They get used to it gradually, or an older animal takes care of them. Did you say B? Did they get used to it gradually? You're right. The human mothers keep a close eye on them until they're accepted by other animals of their own kind. Did you have fun playing Animal Quiz? Well, we sure did. I'm glad you were able to share the story of the zoo babies with us. It's a very important one. Zoos like the Los Angeles Zoo realize that they can no longer obtain their animals from the wild, but breed their own. And the work that they're doing is what stands between many animals and extinction. I think you'll agree that it's a most necessary job and very rewarding. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. And remember, be kind to animals. It's good for everybody.